Nissan's budget brand, Datsun, is making its global debut here in India with their large hatchback, the Go, which is changing the game by coming at a relatively small price tag. So in this new landscape, we've put together some of the competition that the Go will face. On the smaller side, we have Hyundai's Eon, and on the other side, we have Maruti Suzuki's Wagon. So how will the Go stack up against its established rivals? Well, we've got them here together. Let's find out. In this crowd, the Wagon sticks out like a sore thumb. It isn't just because of its tall boy stance. It's also because it is the least stylish of these three. The Eon, for instance, may be the smallest, but its design is the most bold. The Go is the one that strikes the best balance though, of size and style, without overdoing things. And for the record, it is the longest, the widest, and the lowest slung of the three here. But what is it like on the inside? Okay, I have been taken aback by the quality of plastics on the inside. Some of these really look and feel nice, and overall much better quality than I had expected. But there are some things which still jar you a bit, like this music system, which is basically a holder for your phone with a USB charging point and an aux in. It just looks very aftermarket-y, which is a bit of a turn-off. That aside, there are other things like power window switches which are on each door pad for the front two doors, but you have to reach out to the other side to get to the passenger side door. And the fact that there's no glove box cover means the mess that you have in there is always on display. A thorough disappointment though is that ABS and airbags aren't even available as options. Instead of that, Datsun is very shrewdly offering equipment such as follow me home lights, trip computer with real-time fuel consumption, and then on top of that, it backs it up with a whole host of optional equipment at the lowest prices on offer from any manufacturer. Not only does this help improve the appeal of the car, but it also boosts its price to value equation. On another note, the Go can boast of the longest wheelbase of the three cars here. But how does that translate into the backseat experience? Now this backseat isn't as impressive as I expected it to be. But on the space front, it's quite decent. Knee room is adequate, as is headroom. Under thigh support could be better. But what really bothers me is that the view out front is obstructed by these large single piece seats that jut out in front of you. And other than that, this just doesn't feel all that special. I mean, the seat fabric just stares you in the face, grey, and looks, well, low rent in that sense. And then you can see things like this, the non-retractable seat belts and the door pads, which are just simple, no colors on them. So you get the sense that cost cutting has been quite aggressive here. However, the Go comes with a generous helping of boot space. 265 liters looks good enough to easily swallow a couple of suitcases. In contrast, the Maruti's 180-liter boot space is tiny. One big suitcase will be a bit of a squeeze. But when you step inside, it makes a big impression. Now this is nice. Doors open wide, just so easy to step in. And then the back seat offers you good under thigh support, knee room is great, and headroom, well, I don't think you're going to need more. So this is a comfortable, spacious and airy backseat. It's clear that the Wagon isn't making much of a style statement. But for the no-nonsense buyers, this car has plenty of merit. It is spacious, well thought out, with lots of storage available. And while the dashboard looks reasonably smart, it doesn't exude a sense of quality. Some plastics and colors look quite tacky. And this LXI variant offers less equipment than the comparably priced top-end Go variant. But the car that makes the biggest impression is the smallest of the three here. Okay, compared to these other two, there's no escaping the fact that this is a size smaller. But where this car just scores is the fit finish, the design, the quality of the interiors. This just looks so fantastic. The music system design to the plastics that have been used, all of it makes it feel so much more upmarket.
And this Eon Sports is really well equipped, especially when you consider that it's priced on par with the mid-level Wagoner or the top-end Go. And for its size, the Eon offers a fairly good backseat experience, although it does feel a bit cooped in because of the kinked window line. Surprisingly though, the Eon's boot is the second best of the three cars here. Now let's see what these cars pack in their noses. All three of them use 3-cylinder motors, and at 814cc, the Eon has the smallest one here. And no surprises, it has the least power and the least torque. But as the Eon is the lightest car here, on the road it is more than game for regular driving. Drivability is acceptable, but it isn't enthusiastic. But when you push it hard, the motor thrums and feels quite wheezy. The Maruti's 1-litre motor is definitely more punchy. It's got 67 bhp and 9.1 kilograms of torque, which will send you scampering off the line. And it is impressive so long as you don't head for the red line, because that's where the performance trails off and the engine gets particularly noisy. The biggest motor sits in the nose of the Datsun. The 1.2-litre 3-cylinder motor has a Wagoner rivaling 67 bhp, although torque is even better at 10.6 kilograms. What makes it all the more potent is that it is 100 kilograms lighter than the Wagoner and very nearly the lightest car in this comparison.
What really impresses on the Go is the motor. It's just got so much responsiveness, lower down in the rev range, pretty much off idle, and it has pretty good punch even in the mid-range. The engine is pretty silent at lower RPMs, but when the revs build, you can hear it inside the cabin. And the other thing is the gearbox doesn't feel as smooth as you would like it to. Finally, the ergonomics do feel a bit strange. The steering feels a bit high, as is the gear lever.
Despite these niggles, it's clear that the Go has the most easy to drive, the peppiest, and the most refined motor here. All three cars have independent front suspensions, with the rears being non-independent. But all three feel distinctly different. The Eon is clearly tailored towards comfort at low speeds in the city. As a result, it does feel a bit out of sorts at higher speeds on the highway. Its sloppy steering also makes it the least reassuring to drive. The Maruti offers a more balanced setup. Its low-speed ride is clearly the most comfortable of the three here, and it also feels more sure-footed at higher speeds. But if you plan to spend long stints on the highway, this isn't the most planted car here. Which would in fact be the Datsun, which offers the best suspension setup. It's not too soft, nor too firm.
Now the Go may not be as softly strung as the Wagoner, but it has a good amount of comfort available inside the cabin, and at the same time it does feel more sure-footed than the Wagoner when you're driving at speed. The steering is quite well judged because it feels light and easy to use at city speeds, and at the same time it feels accurate and confidence-inspiring at higher speeds.
But what troubles you is the amount of noise that filters into the cabin.
Also, the Go is pretty light when it comes to insulation, so you can hear quite a bit of the road noise, and if you hit a rough patch, you'll hear all those tones pinging and clinging off the underbody.
But you certainly won't complain about the Go when it comes to fuel efficiency. Despite having the biggest and the most peppy motor, it returns the second best city fuel efficiency figures. and it has the best performance on the highway. The Eon's smaller motor has the edge in city consumption, and the Wagoner trails in last. So, finally, how do these three stack up? They are fairly close in terms of price, but very different in size, what they offer, how they feel, and how they drive. But at the end of the day, which is the most sensible package for your money?
Now there's no doubt about it, the Eon is a great car, especially when you consider how well it's been packaged and designed. Its interior is definitely the best of the lot here, but in this company it is let down by the fact that space is at a premium and it doesn't feel as peppy as the other two, and its dynamics really aren't all that resort. Which brings us to the Maruti Suzuki Wagon. Now this car has the best space of the lot, it rides fairly well, is decent to drive to, and has a pretty peppy motor. But when you look at those factors, the Datsun offers just a little bit more. The engine is peppier, the ride and handling is more sorted. The cabin may not have the appeal and finesse that the Wagon seems to offer, but nonetheless, this is a pretty well-equipped car. It has good amount of space on offer, great boot space, and well, from the outside, it does have more appeal than the Wagon. And to top it all off, Datsun is bringing the go-in at a significantly lower price than the other cars here, which makes it the one to pick of this lot.